This case is disturbing. Viewers' discretion is advised. We go into Waukesha County in USA, in particular Waukesha County Library. Now, she was 87 years old at the time. This 87-year-old woman who was looking forward to Christmas got out a couple of books from the library, they were Christmas books, and she was driving to go to return the books to the Waukesha Library. When she got there, she realised the library was closed, and she thought, well, you know what, I'll just post them through the library book post box bin, a big bin. So she pulled up in a car right beside the bin and realised that, she was too small to actually reach up car window to put the books into the post box, because she was only a very slight lady. I think she only weighed about 100 pounds, so she was a very slight, small lady. So she got out of her car. She did notice an African American young male around the library area. So she got out of the car with her 2 books, and she noted that the African American male was coming towards her car, and she thought, well, what a lovely, nice young man, he's going to help me put my books in the library bin, which he did do. Now, that young person was 14-year-old Khalil Perry. Now, Khalil had been looking for work for most of the day. He went to the library after his day of looking for work, and it was a sunny day. The day was November the 30th, 2021, leading up to Christmas. Sun was shining. It was a beautiful day. Khalil noticed the elderly lady, and in his own words, in police interview, said, I saw that she was old, and I thought she'd be an easy target. That elderly lady, her name was Margie Lincolnbeard. She was married. She'd been married 70 years. In fact, she was close to celebrating her 70th wedding anniversary. She was born in Arkansas, so she was a member of the community, well known, well liked. And on that day, she was just in a 2009 Ford Escape silver car, driving to the library to drop off some books. And then the most horrific thing happened to her. 14-year-old Khalil went up to her car, took the books from her, and he did put them in the library bin box. But then he held a folding black knife to her neck and told her to move over from the driver's seat. Now, she scooted over, not very easily. She's an elderly woman. She's slight. She's frail. She managed to get over the central console into the passenger seat, and Khalil got into the driver's seat. Once in the driver's seat, he drove a short distance to the back of the library, just beyond the library, and there was like a little parking lot there. He parked the car up. Now, according to the prosecution, this is what happened. He told her, move over, as in move over to the passenger seat, while holding the knife to her neck. They drove that short distance to that parking lot. He apparently pulls down his pants, points the knife at her, and orders her to perform oral sex. In fact, he actually said, according to the prosecution, suck my dick. Now, she plays dumb and says, I don't know what you mean. She watches lots of shows. In fact, her favourite show was Blue Bloods. She's got some knowledge of how to remember things, and she was, all in her mind how frightened she must be. She still took note of what he was wearing, how his voice sounded, etc., etc. Now, she plays dumb and says, I don't know what you mean. Apparently, he then forces her head down, because he's pulled down his pants, he's pulled down his trousers or whatever, and he forces her head onto his penis. Now, she apparently says, this is not working. And he obviously realises it's not working. So then he apparently says to her, bitch, climb on top of me. She is an elderly fucking lady. Now, she's got bad hips, and she tells him, I can't do that. I don't think I can climb over on top of you. I've got bad hips. I've got really bad hips. I don't think I can do it. He insisted. He was patient, and he waited for her and watched calmly as she struggled, apparently, to straddle him. Now, that didn't work either. There was no penetration. So as she's climbing off him, she's praying. She's praying to God. She's praying. And she's saying to him, what would your mother and father think? Now, he answers, I don't have a mother. I don't have a father. Nobody loves me. I'm the devil. She continues to pray, and he says, stop praying, bitch. I'm the devil. She offers her credit card. She just wants this to end. She's an old lady just returning fucking library books. She just wants to get out of this situation. She offers him her debit card, credit cards, and said, look, there's money on there. Take it. Take the money. He does take it. He does take her credit cards. And she's got an old flip phone as well. It's like a Motorola, whatever it was, flip phone, very old. And he takes that as well. He then starts to drive off. And she says to him, look, can you please just drop me off? Just drop me off at Maple Village Apartments. That's not where she lives, by the way. And he actually says, I'll drop you home. And she says, no, you're not dropping me home. So he does. He drops her off at this Maple Village Apartments, and he says to her, if you tell anybody, bitch, I'm going to fucking kill you. I'm going to fucking kill your family. He drops her off and lets her out the car, and he moves off, goes away with her car, her credit cards, and drives off. He's gone. Now Margie makes her way to a school. She goes up to the front door. She pounds on the front door. There is a police officer in there, and she tries to get her attention. The doors are obviously locked because kids, I think it's school time, maybe wrong in that. However, the officer realises when Margie starts pointing towards her squad car that she actually needs help. The officer lets Margie in, takes all the details, obviously calls the police. Now, an all points bulletin was put out for Margie's car, and Margie was actually taken to the hospital. An officer who heard the bulletin was prowling around the area, and he happens to find a young black male in the car, same description of the car that was put out on the bulletin, which was Margie's car. He approaches the car. The young black male who was in the car at the time gets out of the car and starts running. He runs off on foot. Now the officer tries to give chase, doesn't actually manage to get a hold of him, goes back to the car. There is a strong smell of weed in the car. Now, the suspect, Perry, was then later found, and he was arrested, and he did have the car keys still on him, and he had the knife on him, and he was obviously arrested and taken into custody. They also searched his home address, and they found in the basement a black bag with Margie's items in it, including some CDs, which even had her name on, and her wallet, and so forth. Now, Perry was then, at this point, taken into custody. At the hospital, Margie was being interviewed, and she had to go for a horrific sexual assault assessment, which is not very nice. It's not very nice for anybody, but if you can imagine it for a bloody 87-year-old woman. So she goes for that, and she gave a bit of a statement in a hospital. Now, she says in a statement in hospital, which was later played in court, that this unknown male, got her into the car at knife point, made her go into the passenger seat. She did say in the hospital that, which was later used as evidence in court by the defence, that he asked her to unbutton her trousers, but it never got any further than that, and there was no sexual assault. So as I go towards the end of this case, obviously you're going to know the outcome of it, but that was a kind of discrepancy which was used by the defence in trial. Back at the police station, 14-year-old Perry is being interviewed by the police. He was asked if he was read his Miranda rights, and he was asked whether he wanted a solicitor present, and he declined. Well, he was 14 years old. I mean, could you really go ahead with an interview with a 14-year-old? I would have rather not myself. However, maybe questioned that, they shouldn't have interviewed him without an appropriate adult at least, or a solicitor present, but, because he was just 14 years old. But at the end of the day, he went ahead with the interview. He admitted at point of interview that, I done this. I saw the old lady at the library. I put a knife up to her throat. I got into her car. I drove around a bit with her. I even took her credit cards and other items or whatever, and I even took her car. I hijacked her. He denied ever any sexual assault. For a year, the defence tried to keep this out of adult court so that he would be tried as a juvenile, but unfortunately, that was unsuccessful. They also tried to put in that he was mentally unstable, and he went through quite a few different assessments and so forth to say that he was not competent to stand trial. Ultimately, he was found competent to stand trial. The defence psychologist said that although he did have some issues, he did have an adjustment disorder, but he was still competent to stand trial. At court, Perry pleaded not guilty to charges. Well, specifically, he did not plead guilty to the sexual assault. He was found guilty of armed robbery with use of force, operating a vehicle without the owner's consent, and kidnapping. The sexual assault aspect of the case was, the jury was deadlocked. They couldn't make a decision. So they couldn't basically determine whether the sexual assault actually happened or not. And he could be retried for that aspect, that sexual assault again. However, he was found guilty of all the other charges, and I'm sure he's going to spend quite a long time in prison for that. Now, it's interestingly, the media and everybody came to speak to Margie after all this had happened, and a statement from her and her solicitor said that, you know what, even though the jury could not come to a decision on sexual assault, she was happy enough that the other charges stuck, because she knows that, I mean, they're federal charges, they carry quite a weight. So she was happy that he would not be released anytime soon to ever hurt anybody else. Sentencing is scheduled for June the 30th, so we'll see what happens then. If you like this, if you enjoyed this and you found this informative, please give me a subscribe and a like. I don't release content religiously on a Wednesday or a Sunday. It's just when I've got time. So take care. Toodaloo.